Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Harrogate series. Harrogate is a large borough, one of the 11 districts of North Yorkshire. It's got 139 civil parishes. Which one are we in this episode? Welcome back to Harrogate, everybody. Now today I've brought you to essentially a linear village with a massive amount of area around it within its parish boundaries. It contains all kinds of things, this one, so this one's not going to be the easiest one I've ever covered yet in Harrogate. We'll soon see. Welcome to Beckwithshaw. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Today in Harrogate, we're in Beckwithshaw, a tiny village with a lot of history to it. This is a good example of a place which has changed administratively in recent times. Until 2010, Beckwithshaw Civil Parish did not exist. The area it covers was instead named Pannal, and it included the village of Pannal to the east. However, after Pannal was removed in 1937 and combined with Burn Bridge, Beckwithshaw became the largest settlement in the parish. However, it would take until 2010 for the name to be officially changed. The land area it covers, though, is essentially the same today as it was back in the 1930s. The village is a linear settlement that runs in a north to south fashion along the B6161, and it's located 2.5 miles away from the centre of Harrogate. Beckwithshaw takes its name from the now smaller settlement of Beckwith 1 mile to the east. The suffix shaw, first recorded in 1323, is from the Old English word sceaga, meaning a copse. There's an area known as the Copse in this one, but the two are not one and the same thing. As well as the Anglican Church of St Michael and All Angels, the village has a primary school and a popular pub called the Smith's Arms, although the boundaries also take in the Squinting Cat Inn too to the east. There's also a small hamlet called Shaw Green. So let's get walking and take in Beckwithshaw and all it has to offer. We begin with a drive through the hamlet of Shaw Green, essentially just a handful of houses that line Shaw Lane, which links Beckwithshaw to North Rigton. Shaw Green might not have much in the way of landmarks, but this little drive is quite important, because while you enjoy the local scenery, I can tell you about the Moor Park estate, which will help you understand Beckwithshaw as we walk around it. Beckwithshaw was part of the estate, created in the mid-1800s when Moor Park House was bought by James Bray, a successful and wealthy iron and brass founder from Leeds. Bray's company would build both the Leeds and Thirsk and Wharfdale railways. In 1869, Moor Park was sold to the MP Joseph Nussey before the Williams family took over in 1881. They owned the estate until the 1940s, and it's down to them that Beckwithshaw has some of the features you're about to see on this main walk. There's a special section on Moor Park House coming later in this episode where we'll see what's become of it today. We start at the end of Shaw Lane at an old Methodist chapel built in 1845. Now a house, at one time this could hold 100 people. All these houses on the southern fringes of Beckwithshaw have names with milling references, like the Mill House and the Granary. There was once a windmill in Beckwithshaw, but it wasn't here. It was located on the B6162, between the village and Harlow Carr. Aside from those houses, Beckwithshaw is a cluster of properties that line a former coaching route, now known as the B6161. Two major local roads meet here, Killinghall to North Rigton and Harrogate to Otley. The B6161 sees a vast amount of traffic. Here's a look at some houses that are set back from the road. The base of the church tower can just be seen in this shot too. On the other side of the road is the old post office. This was in operation between 1887 and 1978 before becoming a private residence. The Smith's Arms pub next. As well as serving the busy coaching route, this doubled originally as the village blacksmiths, hence the name. It was the landlord's job to keep Moor Park's horses in good order too. Behind the pub is a modern row of housing, and next it's the village hall. This was donated by the Williams family in 1950. Originally called the Institute, it was an annex and reading room for the church. In front of it we have an old village pump, a monument which stands to illustrate how different life once was in these parts. And on the village hall wall we find the parish notice board. Mark Beckwithshaw off those Harrogate lists, 134 to go. Now, as far as Beckwithshaw's parish council goes, it's governed by what must be a council with one of the longest names I've ever seen. Don't know whether you can read it there, but it's Havering Park with Beckwithshaw Parish Council. Havering Park is a separate civil parish on its own, which is out to the west, the north and west of Beckwithshaw. I will cover that one very soon. There's not much in it. It's mostly just fields and farmland, to be honest with you. So that one's going to be interesting, but we're not concerning ourselves with that today. Okay, let's continue past the village hall. I can hear a school somewhere over there, so we'll check that out. One thing I purposely have missed out so far has been the church. It's right next to this village hall. I'm going to catch that on the way back. That way we can have a proper look at it. I know it's open as well because there is a sign that says outside the church that it is open. So yeah, that's for the way back down. Beckwithshaw has grown very little since the Williams days. This small cul-de-sac is roughly the extent of its modern spread. Now we come to the school, built by James Bray in 1865. Before this existed, the schoolroom was an upstairs room of the Smith's Arms. At the mini roundabout next to it is a big gated house. This was the former entrance to Moor Park, but now there's a new way in. It can be found further up the road, now called Pot Bank. Beckwithshaw Cricket Club is up there too, on the right hand side. Also at the roundabout is the Copse, once originally part of the Moor Park estate. It was donated to the parish council in 1999. Its purpose was to celebrate the millennium, and here on the school's wall there's an information board all about Beckwithshaw. This goes into great detail about both the village and the estate, as well as Havering Park, coming in a future episode. A lot of the local landmarks are talked about too, including the church, which we'll see for ourselves in a few moments. And you can also see just how much land the parish covers to the east in this area here, which I'm circling with my finger. Well, I imagine this is usually a peaceful little spot, but of course with the children out in the playground right now with the school behind me, it's not all that peaceful. But it's, you know what, in a way it's kind of nice to hear them enjoying themselves. It's actually really good just to sit here and listen. So let's head back now to the beginning, and on the way we'll catch the church, which I purposely didn't catch on the way up, and then we'll take a drive, a long drive, through some of the rest of Beckwithshaw Parish. You saw on that map there just how much land it covers, and we'll end at the Squinting Cat pub. Behind the village hall is the playing field, and this is used regularly by the local football team, Beckwithshaw Saints. The Saints operate several junior sides as well as ladies and girls teams. They're based in this room at the back of the village hall. St Michael and All Angels Church was consecrated by the Bishop of Ripon, the Right Reverend Dr. W. Boyd, in September 1886. The ceremony took place exactly a year to the day since the foundation stone was laid, by Ellen Williams. It's built of stone that came from Killinghall Quarry, now an industrial estate on the banks of the River Nid, near Ripley. Its tall tower has a peal of 6 bells. St Michael's is joined ecclesiastically with St Robert's Church in Pannal. Let's go inside. It's a fabulous example of a Victorian building in the Gothic Revival style. Its fixtures and fittings are from the arts and crafts movement. Services are held at 11:15 every Sunday, as well as a short service of morning prayer on Tuesdays at 9:15. Otherwise, it's open daily for private prayer and reflection, and to drop off donations for the local Harrogate Food Bank. So in much the same way as we saw at the church in Stainburn, this church is also funded by way of some, shall we say, things that people can buy. There it was jam, here it's knitted goods. There's some very nice hand knitted gloves there, and I think you're going to like these. These are little mittens, children's mittens, also hand knitted. Aren't they cute? Little angels. Fantastic. And they're on sale here at the back of the church. The price list is here as well. It depends on what you're after as to how much you pay, but the price list is as follows. So the children's mittens and scarves, we aren't any scarves here at the moment, they're £3. The adult gloves are £2. The child's mittens are £1.50, and the angel is £1. So that's how this church keeps itself going, I suppose. Fantastic. There seems to be a very good community spirit here in Beckwithshaw and in Harrogate in general, actually, so we may be seeing a few more of those as we travel around the district. Speaking of travelling around, I'm now going to head back to the car and we're going to hop in it and take a drive through the rest of Beckwithshaw Parish, and we're going to end up at the Squinting Cat pub, as I said earlier, right on the boundary with Harrogate itself. So what's become of Moor Park House these days then? Well, it still stands, but it's not the mansion it once was. As with many Victorian mansions up and down the country, Moor Park was considered to be far too big for present-day living. This house is typical of those large country residences that have now been divided into modern apartments. The concept isn't new though, because even though the Williams family owned Moor Park until the 1940s, the mansion appears from historical records to have been tenanted for most of its time. Notable residents were Frederick Warham Turner, a Bradford wool trader and managing director of Illingworth, Morris & Co., and Robert Reed, the head of a firm of Horbury oil distillers. After Reed's death in 1940, his widow remained until 1942, and the estate was put up for auction by Joshua Appleyard Williams. It failed to sell, but by 1947 Moor Park was in the hands of the Women's Land Army and used as a hostel. These days, it's now 22 luxury apartments. Pannal might not be anything to do with Beckwithshaw anymore, but there is an area still within the boundaries called Pannal Ash. This has its own bit of history to tell. The building you're looking at here is Vida Court, a specialist dementia care home run by Vida Healthcare. It was built in 2021, making it the newest of the company's 3 dementia care homes, the other 2 being Vida Hall in Starbeck and Vida Grange. Lastly, we're off to Lund House Green, where we find the Squinting Cat. Originally a smithy built between 1700 and 1740, it became a coaching inn with part of the old dining room used for the building and repair of coaches. How this gets its name is a brilliant tale. It was at one time run by an old woman who used to peer out of the window at customers, earning her the nickname The Cat. When it was sold in the 1930s, its name was officially changed to the Squinting Cat in her honour. Time for a pint. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.